Move over, champagne. Milk is the sexy new drink in town. And the safe word is Jacob.
What?
You are watching Reader Seeks Romance Channel's Romance Recap, and we're discussing Babygirl, a kinky erotic drama for which Nicole Kidman received a Golden Globe nomination for Best Performance of a Female Actor in a Drama. Babygirl, also starring Harris Dickinson and Antonio Banderas, and directed by Dutch director Helena Reijn, was released by independent film studio A24 on Christmas Day 2024. And it's actually set during the Christmas season. So this film, like Die Hard, is indeed a Christmas movie. I am Liz Donatelli.
And I'm Tiffany Currit.
Be sure to subscribe to Reader Seeks Romance channel so that you don't miss new episodes of Romance Recap, only on YouTube. Hello, Tiffany.
Wow, what a recap. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. This was kind of a wild ride for me. What about you?
Well, I found my new Christmas movie.
Sorry, Die Hard. Yes, it's gone. Move over. Oh my goodness.
I actually was impressed by the fact that for an erotic BDSM movie, well, actually more like a kinky movie, because they
Yeah.
didn't really get into bondage or anything, but it was like light kink, let's say.
Light sub. Yeah, light
Yeah,
sub stuff.
it was there wasn't a lot of nudity.
It was surprising. I thought it was tasteful. There was a lot of implied things that happened. We definitely saw a lot of on-screen stuff. I will say, first
Mhm.
impression wise, I was like, at first I was turned on, and then I was disturbed, and then I was like, all right, come on, girl. I went through like a range of emotions watching this whole film. Like what? It was crazy. It was a roller coaster ride for me. It
It
was.
was. It was. And I could have just watched a movie of Nicole Kidman and Harris Dickinson having this kinky relationship without it even going anywhere. I was like, this is just enjoyable.
Yeah. Just to
But
George Michael, just to George Michael the entire time, just like him in the background scoring it. Like, yes.
they use two songs that I adore, and that's George Michael's father figure, as you've
Yes.
mentioned, and In Excess's Never Tear Us Apart. At one point, I did write, where is this going?
And we're gonna dive in like step by step. At some point, like at when I thought it was gonna take a certain turn, I was like, okay, I know where this is going. Then it stopped taking this turn, and I was like, okay, well then now where is it going? It was just I didn't know where
Yeah,
to look. I didn't know what to think. I was like, how is this going to end? I mean, it was surprising. It did surprise
it
me.
was. I can't wait later to share what I thought the ending was going to be and should have been. But
Okay.
we'll see, we'll compare notes. Let's dive in. Come on, kick us off, Tiffany.
It starts with Nicole Kidman, this high-powered woman working at an AI packaging company. Couldn't quite figure that out. And basically, she has a great career, but she's very unsatisfied in bed until she meets this intern at her company. They have this affair. Things start to kind of go haywire. And by the very end, it all gets wrapped up in a neat little bow. That's more or less what happens.
I mean, what did you, before we get in more in depth, what did you
Yeah.
think the overall takeaway was? The message or the
Oh,
lesson?
my goodness. I was trying to figure out the lesson. I felt like it's okay to have your own sexual desires, but maybe keep it in the family. Like keep it in the family. By the end, that's the way I took it. It's just like just do it, but keep it in the family. That was my takeaway.
Yeah.
That's what I told my husband. I'm like, you better keep it in the family. That's what I said. No, just kidding. Like keep it
Keep it,
in.
actually, when you say keep it in the family, it almost sounds like something else,
Like
but
incestuous.
yeah.
Well, you know.
Which interesting, we mentioned incestuous relationship. There's a scene where Nicole Kidman's character Romy
Yeah.
has two daughters, and she's looking out and sees her daughter in the pool with some girl. I thought it was the two daughters
I thought
kissing.
so too. And then later I'm like, okay, no, it's just it was very
It
confusing.
was a
But anyway,
neighbor. It was a neighbor
it's a
girl.
neighbor. Yeah, it was a
Um,
neighbor.
and her daughters are like in their teens or something like
Yeah.
that. But I was like, oh, this is interesting. But no, it wasn't an incestuous relationship. I feel like the takeaway, and it's interesting because I told my husband briefly because he wants to watch Babygirl.
Yeah.
And I was giving him just snippets of it. And as I'm telling him, I'm like, I sound like I'm making this up. And I said to him, just like mock seriously, I was like, the lesson was is that you can love someone, but they might not be the lover for you.
Oh, that's interesting. That actually is a good lesson as well.
Um, and
Yours is a more
yeah.
negative take, but yeah, yes,
Well, I mean,
but it's true.
yes, but like
It's
to
true.
build on that, it would be like you both have to find a way to communicate and be okay with maybe one person being allowed to explore those sexual
Yes.
pleasures and getting satisfaction, maybe agreed upon outside of your committed marital status. Like, I mean, that could be an answer.
I think so. I think that's actually, when you put it that way, that's fair.
Yeah.
It was funny. I was trying to do a lot of takeaways and I couldn't. I just watched it last night and I'm like, I need to digest. It was
Yeah.
one of those things. I went to bed. I'm like, I gotta just think about this one.
No, you're right. And there's a lot
Um,
of symbolism throughout. There's a
yeah,
lot
there
of,
is. Let's hop in. I think we should dive in
yeah, let's
and
go.
kind of start. You want to start with the opening?
First of all, I knew this was the movie for me because before you even see anything, you hear Nicole Kidman in the throes of passion. She's grunting.
Yes.
Antonio Banderas is grunting. He is
Yes.
her husband, Jacob. I didn't realize his name was Jacob until the safe word scene later on.
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, and I was like, man, that's cold. But yeah,
Yeah.
we start open on them having sex, and right away, my first thought was like, Antonio Banderas, where have you been? You look amazing still. He had that white beard going on.
He looks good.
I missed him. That was my note. He looks great. He looks great was my first note. Like, he looks great. I know they're
Yeah.
having sex, but he looks great.
He does, and he plays a very cinnamon roll type character. And in
Yeah,
romance fiction, cinnamon roll is a very sweet, supportive type of, protagonist. He was very supportive, very soft
I
spoken.
know. Great husband. He was a great freaking husband.
Yeah, they have sex.
Um,
He's like, I love you. And she's like, I love you. And then she gets up and we have one of two naked
yes.
scenes is that you see her backside. She walks into another room, immediately turns on porn on the computer,
Yes, that is
and
correct.
finishes up, if you
Yeah,
know what I
she was unsatisfied by him. She's like, I'm gonna go take care of myself. Thank you very much. And then I noted it. Then we cut to like dramatic music and packages moving around. And I was like, why do they keep saying packages? It's like, what does this mean? I
mean.
guess
Yeah.
that's her business or something. But we kind of, it was very
Yeah.
strange, wasn't it? I was
It
like,
was like I
what
wrote
line up?
down dramatic title shot because all of a sudden it was like, "Brr." And then you just see like assembly lines of things. It
Yeah.
looked like an Amazon type of warehouse.
Yes. I was
Yeah.
like, is this what we're supposed to, is she like Jeff Bezos? It's what's happening.
I
Um,
think that's what it is that,
Maybe that's what
yeah.
it is. But she's the head of this company. I think we meet her family very briefly. And then we go to this dramatic scene of her walking down the street. A German Shepherd gets loose, whatever, charges toward her, and before it can attack, somebody whistles and like somehow calms the dog down. That's the intern. He wrangles the dog.
And she is transfixed. Harris Dickinson just like talks to it and whispers and gives it something,
Yeah.
it looks like it holds out his hand and the dog takes something. And she is just like, who is this
He
man?
was
Like,
like, who
yeah,
could tame this, Cujo? I was like, okay.
he's a
Um,
Cujo tamer. Yeah.
Right. And then like we have the interns come into her office. She's like the big boss, and
Mhm.
he kind of tweaks her with his introduction. He says some sort of line to her that's kind of like on the offensive. Um,
He asks her a very probing question about the
yeah,
company.
yes.
And I didn't really understand it, but it seemed to like it was like a ballsy type of question to
It
ask.
was a ballsy question. They get ushered out after that question, and then later on, she sees him kind of like in the kitchen and she says, "Hey, how did you tame that dog?" And he was like, "With cookies." Very simple, like with cookies.
Yeah. It's interesting because that type of acting that Harris Dickinson does is really difficult because it's so matter of fact. You
Yes.
almost are like, is he just making up these lines? Because he seems like it's just rolling off of him, but he's just like, cookies. He's like, and she's like, and she goes, do you always have cookies on you? And he's like, yeah. Do you want one? I
I
was like,
know,
oh,
right?
yeah, the cookie talk. Oh,
Right away, I was like, man, I was like, this guy's ballsy for some young 20 something to talk to the big boss that way. Like, I
yeah.
was like, all right, good for
Yeah.
him.
And then he asks, and then because she's drinking coffee, and he's like, you shouldn't drink coffee after lunch. How many cups of coffee do you drink a day? And at first she's like, screw off. Like, I don't have to tell you. Then she's like,
Yeah.
Seven, you know?
I know, whatever. She's like, I'll answer you, fine.
Right. So you could already see that there's that push and
Back and forth.
pull of
Yeah,
the whole
dynamic.
power. Yeah.
It was just a slow burn introduction. Then later on, again, we see Antonio and her. He wants to have sex with her, and she's like, "Put a pillow. I want to put a pillow over my face. I want a pillow over my face while we have sex." And like, he was really confused by that kind of pillow talk, shall we say?
Oh,
Um,
good fun.
right? And he was like, "No, I don't want to do the pillow. Don't want to
Yeah.
do it."
She covers herself in a sheet, I guess, because maybe she was embarrassed to bring this up. But she says,
Uh,
I want to watch porn while you have sex with me.
yes.
And and he wasn't having it.
He was not having it,
You
and he
know,
was like, no. I'll give her credit. She asked for what she wanted and he turned her down. She asked for it though.
she did. So, like you said, keep it in the family. She did make an attempt to do that, but that was the only conversation that we saw that they ever had. There should have been a push for more conversation if it
Yeah.
meant that much to her. But of course, if that were the case, this movie would not exist
Would have
because,
happened.
yeah, so
But that was a no, because that says to me that probably she's probably asked for stuff in the past and he said no. But I was like, oh, he won't even let her watch porn at the same time. That's kind of sad.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, she was trying. But
She
was in,
tried.
and what was interesting about the porn she was watching earlier in the film is
What
that,
was it? I didn't even see it.
well, you can't really see it clearly, but you
Okay.
can hear it and the dialogue, it's a sub-dom relationship. So you
Yeah.
already kind of know, okay, she's into something kinky. It wasn't just, regular porn where
Yeah.
they just,
It was like something.
yeah,
Yeah. It was okay. That's
yeah.
interesting.
Hmm.
But that was like kind of the whole setup of the movie. And then we get to the office party where we see Nicole and she's talking to her assistant, Esme or something.
Or wait, I wrote it down.
Wasn't that the name like in Twilight? I don't know, but her name, yeah, I think it was
That was
Esme.
that was Renee's May.
Was that
This was the
her?
Twilight kid. Here's the thing, as far as names, you don't learn anyone's name until like the middle of the movie, it
Yeah,
seems.
I
Because
know.
Esme, I just had her as assistant, and then eventually we get it's Esme. So Esme is the assistant, yeah.
She's the assistant. She'd already talked to Nicole earlier in the film about potentially getting a promotion.
Hmm.
And she tries to talk to Nicole again, like, oh, where are you from? That's when we learned that she was in a commune or something or other, or weird type of cult.
Yeah, she says, she goes, because the assistant's like, oh, I like that name, Romy. Like, how'd you get that
Yeah.
name? And she's like, a guru gave it to me.
Yeah, it's very strange.
And then she's like, I grew up in communes and cults.
At first, I
Yeah.
thought it was like, oh, she's making a joke. And then they held it. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
that's, I guess, her background. And never to be said again, by the way.
Never said again. There was allusions to it, like later on, Antonio Banderas mentioned he's like about how you
Mm.
grew up, but there was a couple of flashes where it looked like she was flashing back to kids playing, and
Oh, that's interesting.
it seemed like it was in, it almost looked like a movie reel, like you're looking
Yeah.
at an old movie. There was very, very brief clips twice in the movie where she seemed to be thinking back, I think, to her cult
Oh, her
commune.
cult childhood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But other than that, like there wasn't anything. So, I mean, the insinuation is that because what, you're in a cult and they tell you what to do, that was her kink. But then later on, she's like, I was always like this. It has nothing to do with my childhood. I don't know about that.
I know about that. I agree with you. I feel like your childhood has a big impact on you. But
Yep.
she's at this party and all she's doing is she's staring at this intern hard, like across the
Yeah.
room. She
Yeah.
eventually goes outside. He comes outside asking for a cigarette. And he says, by the way, I chose you as my mentor. Okay, first of all, she's shocked. She's like, what do you mean? What program? What mentor? I it's pretty ballsy of the assistant to enroll like the head of this company into this mentor program without telling her. Because Nicole Kidman had no idea that she was she was in this program.
Part
It
of
was
that.
very
Yeah. See, the whole time, this Esme assistant character is kind of pushing for Nicole to be better, to be the
yes.
role model that she wants Nicole Kidman to be. So
Yes.
step one, and so actually she's to blame for all of this.
It's her fault.
But she's the one who pushed and, like you said, put Nicole Kidman's name down to be a mentor. And
Yes.
then the intern, who we eventually, more than halfway into the movie, learn his name is Samuel. But and he's like, yeah, I picked you as a mentor, and basically she owes him, like regular meetings
10
as a
minute
mentor.
meetings on a
Yeah.
weekly basis. Yeah, that was strange. But we go from there. He apparently he left his tie on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
She picks it up and she starts like biting it very sexually. And I was at first I was like, I don't want you to choke on that. She was like really stuffing it down her mouth.
She
But
was
she was into that. She was into that tie, man.
she
Jeez
was
Louise.
smelling it and then she's rubbing it on her mouth. She was stuffing it so far in. I thought she was going to start to, maybe
I thought
touch
so too.
herself. Like I
That's
didn't
what
know
I
what
thought
was going
too.
to happen. Yeah.
Should we go from there to see her doing all sorts of upkeep, like getting Botox and being in a cold chamber and etc. for some reason? I don't know why we saw that. It was very strange.
I was going to ask you about that. Like, what did you think? Because, and I don't understand. Was it supposed to? And at one point, I didn't know if she was doing some kind of therapy where she's
Oh,
listening to
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
What was
yeah.
that?
I think that was therapy too. It's probably like to help with your mental capacity. She was just doing everything to stay on top of her game.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then there was something about did the Botox leave a mark on her? Because people kept talking about what's on your cheek.
Yeah, I guess I've never had Botox, but I guess it left a spot because he saw it, and later, like, the assistant helped her fix
And
it.
I think the daughter was making fun of her or something about
First of
it.
all, the daughter is a douchebag. I mean,
Yeah,
later on,
she
she's
was.
nice, but I wrote down specifically the daughter is a douchebag. She's like, "Mom, you look like a fish." I was like, "This woman has provided a." I'm such an adult now. I'm like, "She's provided an amazing life for you. What is you're so disrespectful and ungrateful?" That's what I was thinking. I'm like, "What a douchebag."
Yeah, I think that was the older daughter. She's
Yeah,
she's in it more than the younger daughter, but yeah, she's kind of the adversary at home. She's the one who
yeah.
pushes back. She's got issues with Nicole Kidman, and by the end, of course, it's like, "I love you, Mom. You're the
I love
best."
you, Mom. Um, yeah, that was I don't know, that daughter kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Later on, we finally get this meeting. This is when it happens. We get the meeting with the intern in this like abandoned room in the basement. I don't know. They go and he says, "I'm glad that this is soundproof." I was like, okay, that's strange. And I really like this scene because he's like, "Tell me how you got started." And she's like, "Google it." And he's like, "No, no, I want to hear it from you." And I liked how she answered it. That was the first time that we saw that boss like point of view. And she was like a tough boss. And I was
Yeah.
like, no wonder, the assistant likes her so much. That was a cool boss right there. When she started responding, being very like powerful, and this is what I told those guys, I was like, she is a good role model, at first.
Yeah, I love the intensity of that scene
Yeah,
because she doesn't want to open up to him and share anything, and he's pushing, but in a very gentle, like I don't know, clever way. He
yeah,
gets her to open up, and it's all that whole power struggle. But he's trying to get her to relinquish some of that power. Later on, she mentions he sees things in people, kind of knows what they want and they need. And I actually got that too from
I
that
agree.
scene, is
Yep.
that he knew that she wanted to be vulnerable and to like let go of some of the burden of all of that power and yeah,
Yeah.
strength that.
He called it right away because he said, I think you like being told what to do. And she kind of got a little frustrated and she starts to leave.
You think I don't like power?
No, I think you like to be told what to do.
And he like aggressively kind of like closes the door, gets close. I wrote down like this guy, that was a big swing. That was a big risk. Very ballsy.
Yeah,
Very ballsy.
I thought the same thing. I was like, I mean, she could start screaming, calling for security, and he's like, just close the door, just close the door,
Yeah,
close
just
it,
close the door.
close it,
Close
close
it.
it.
Close it. Close it.
So he absolutely knew from the moment he saw her and first interacted with her, this is someone who I could possibly work with in this kinky relationship,
That's very true.
because yeah, you're right. He did it was a big swing. And he hit it out of the park because then they started kissing.
They started making out. She eventually got a hold of herself and said, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done this, which is correct because she's technically the person in power. And she like runs out. Yeah, it was very strange. Then later on, I think that's when we see her, I think at her other house, looking out at a window, and she sees her daughter in
Yes.
the pool making out with some neighbor girl. And we kind of learned that the daughter is a player. And the daughter at that point, I think she said something along the lines of like, oh, that's okay. I love Mary, my girlfriend. This is just someone I'm having fun with. And I thought, okay. I see what they're kind of doing here.
Yeah, it was like that was the first time that I think Nicole Kidman's eyes were open to the fact that, oh, you could have a dual relationship like that. Like, I guess that's what we were supposed to get from that. Now, what's interesting is then the day after, with the whole seeing her daughter in the pool with the neighbor girl, there's a scene where Nicole Kidman's cleaning out the pool and she scoops out a skunk.
Yes, what was that supposed to mean?
I
I
don't
kept seeing
know.
it. I'm like, this has to mean something. It's over my head. I
A
couldn't
dead
figure it out.
and it was a dead skunk in the pool. And it's
I
like,
know.
I mean, do we take it literally like something stinky in this household? And then I was
Yeah.
wondering, like, did she just imagine that there was a skunk because
No,
it was her
this
guilt?
the skunk was there. It wasn't one of those movies. The skunk was there. I think it was symbolizing something, probably what you suggested. It went over my head. I was like, I don't have time for the skunk. Let's get back. I was like, let's get back to the intern. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't have time to figure out this symbolism. We go from there, and this is what gets kind of interesting. They, at some point, she goes to this bar where her like assistant's there, and she's talking up her assistant, saying how great she is. She sees the intern across the bar. He sees her, and a glass of milk gets put down in front of her, and the bartender's like, I don't know, somebody just ordered it for you. And she drinks it. Okay, what did you what were the whole time I'm thinking, I think that's full fat. The whole time she was drinking it, I was like, I think that's a full fat milk. What is she doing? Why is she drinking whole milk? I was just that was what was on my mind. I'm not even lactose intolerant, but I'm like, that is just a full fat milk, and she drank
Yeah.
it.
Well, he took a chance that she was not lactose intolerant because imagine if she's lactose intolerant, she like just sucks back that milk and then she's just like crapping her pants.
She just runs to the bathroom,
She
and
was
that's
the
the
bit.
end of the movie. The rest of
Yeah.
the movie, she's in the bathroom.
Let me tell you, first of all, I love that scene because
Yes,
basically it's game on, right?
it's game on.
He's like, I'm testing you to see if you're willing to go there. And she looks at him and she sucks back this milk. I mean, I don't drink milk. And then she's got like a milk mustache at the
She
end. And then
has a
she just,
milk mustache. I appreciate everything that happened in that scene, but it was milk, guys. It was milk.
it was, but that's
It
just it.
was
Like
milk.
he picked like the worst thing to drink at a bar to test her on such a high level. Like, are you in this with me? Are you willing to go down this road? And she's like, I accept.
Milk. It does a body good.
Milk is like you kids drink milk. Like that's his little girl, right? You're
Well,
my little girl, drink milk.
oh, that's
So that
true.
was what it was. It
Yeah,
was more like you're like be a good girl, and later on he says, good girl," because he's the little girl drinking her milk. That's what
that's
you say
oh,
when
that's right.
your
That whole
parents tell you to drink your milk. Like, good girl.
that's a good point. Yeah, I guess that would fit in with the whole baby girl
Yeah.
title. And like you said, at the end, like everyone's cleared out, she's paying the bill. It's just, and he just like walks past her and whispers, good girl. I was like, oh,
I was like, this boy is ballsy. I really liked him. It was then like I think I paused the movie. I'm like, who is he? And I'd remember that
mhm.
I'd seen him in that TV show, like A Murder at the End of the World or something or other with Clive Owen. And I was like, he
Oh,
was really good. And I remember like, who's that guy? Because he was really, I hadn't seen him before. He was really good, and his acting is so different than this one. He's a really good actor.
he was magnetic to look at
Yeah.
on the screen. I think he's really sexy, especially because of this movie. I know he's in the movie The Iron Claw. Is that what it is?
Oh,
With
yeah, the wrestling movie. I didn't see it
yes, the
either.
wrestling movie with Zac Efron. And I think he's in other stuff. I was looking at his IMDb. It's nothing I've seen, but movies I've heard of. And he is British, which is interesting.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
realize that. Okay,
he
good
he
for
is.
him.
Yeah,
That's a
I mean,
great accent. Would have never guessed.
yes, I'd love to see him in more of these kinky roles. I hope there's a Baby Girl too, where he
I
finally
mean, or maybe there'll be a baby boy. Maybe we'll see what that one
maybe there'll
is.
be, there was a scene that we could talk later. I was like, oh, is he maybe he's bisexual
I
or
know,
yeah.
I thought that too. I would watch that movie too. So we go from there, and like her husband has this big director event. She kind of skips out on it,
Yeah, he's a
and
theater
then
director.
he's like a big time theater director. He's an amazing person. He's every dream husband,
Yeah.
right?
So are they in New York then? Is that where this is set then?
I didn't know. I couldn't tell you. I wasn't sure if it was New York or Chicago.
Okay.
But somewhere where there's really big theater life. But he seemed like
Uh,
a big time director.
He was a big time director. Yeah, which I thought was an interesting choice for a profession because I don't
It's so
know.
random. I was like, director? Okay.
I assumed it was movies, and then you see him at the theater. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
he's very theatrical. But so basically at some point the intern puts a little card on her desk that says, meet me at this location. And she goes to this kind of like low class hotel where she finds like a piece of hair on the bedspread. The guy
Yeah.
isn't even there. And he walks in, the intern, I thought was hilarious, looking totally slumming, wearing like sweats, holding like a plastic bag, almost like saying like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "This guy is so ballsy." It was just so interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, he's feeling his power. For a minute, I was like, wait, did she misunderstand his note? Maybe she wasn't supposed to go there. He
Yeah.
wants her to let him lead. So it's like, oh, like I'll get to you when I get to you.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And he gets to her. She eventually gets her to get on her hands and knees, and he puts a candy. I guess he's treating her like the dog in a way. He
Yes.
puts the candy out, and she comes and she licks the candy out of his hand. From there, we get some sort of like a. He was obviously pleasuring her on the floor, and then she kept saying, "I don't want to pee." Was this like a peeing pleasure? Did you say that? She said, "I don't want to pee." Did you catch that?
Oh, I caught it and I didn't understand it. Because first of all, he's like you said, he's treating her like a dog. He's petting her hair, he's holding
Yeah.
her just like a dog. Um, and she says it looks like she's holding back her orgasm at one point.
Yes.
And then she's like, I don't want to pee. And I put down, she says she's gonna pee? Question mark, question mark. And then I said, her moan is hilarious. She sobs and he hugs her protectively because her moan is,
Yeah.
ooh. Was it that she was holding her pee in because he made her wait and then hadn't expected him to start, touching
I
her?
don't know.
And then she's like, oh no, I don't want to pee. Or does she pee when she has, is that a thing that when she gets sexually excited, she pees?
I think she must pee because that's the way I took it. Because later on, later on, I say there's a montage of sex and peeing.
Yeah.
I think there's
But she
so
didn't pee. I don't think she peed.
we never saw it. How do we know she didn't pee?
I thought there would be an allusion to it if she did pee. Or
There'd be a stain on
did
the
she,
carpet.
was she breaking character? Maybe she was like, I gotta, I don't
Uh,
want to pee.
yeah, this is actually Nicole speaking. I don't want to pee right now. Can we stop? No, I don't know. I think that was part of it for her. I don't know. Either way, she had a great time, even though she was kind of sobbing about it because she finally lived out her pleasure. He apparently had a good time because he got to be the dom.
Yeah, but I want to say something. At this point when because he's giving her some like orders to do before this, he
Yeah.
says he puts her in a corner and has her face the
Yeah,
wall. And then
yeah,
he's
yeah,
like, can you take your clothes off for me? And then she's like, no. And then he looks like, well, why don't you come sit next to me?
yeah,
And I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
is this his first time in
I
the
was
role of a
I wrote that down too. I'm like, he seems unsure of himself. I'm like, he seems unsure. Exactly. I was like, is this his first time? But he kept saying, I think he knew what she wanted though, because he's like, I'm trying to get you to let me, and he wasn't
Mm,
saying it. So I couldn't tell if it was his first time or if he was just trying to work with her because he knew that she wanted that. But it
okay.
was, yeah, that part was strange. But anyway, that's kind of the kickoff of their relationship. And then as I put montage of sex and peeing, having their eyes closed, and then cleaning up glass.
Ow.
It felt very much like the movie The Secretary. Did you ever see that one? Which I love that
I
movie, by the
I
way, because
love
it's James Spader. James Spader is like, you know,
I love that movie. I love
I
Secretary with
love
James
him.
Spader and Maggie Gyllenhaal. I'm
Yes.
I'm not a big like, oh, James Spader is so hot, but he is sexy as hell in that movie.
I used to have a huge thing for James Spader, so that movie was like everything for me.
Yeah, that's a movie I think I own. Like you said, there's a montage, and that's when they're playing In Excess Never Tear Us Apart, which
Yeah,
I think is a really a sexy song. Harris Dickinson just like drops a vase and it just breaks and he's like,
yeah,
clean it up. And she's like crawling on the floor, like picking up the pieces. And I think he's like kicking pieces around.
yeah.
And I wrote down movie secretary, like
Yes,
at
that's
that scene. Yeah.
exactly. That's what it was. I was like, that's The Secretary. I don't know what, either way, great
Yeah.
movie. And then like she goes home and things take a turn. The intern is in her home. I was like, right when she walked in, I'm like, he better not be there. He was there at her home at the table with her husband and
Mhm.
her kids. And she walks in and she's like, what's in? He's just like, oh, you forgot your laptop. And I was like, this kid, man, this is not the game you play. Like the other game is cool. That game was
Yeah.
not okay to me.
It wasn't. Now, when she's like later on, like they're together and she's like, why are you here? And he's like, I was just doing my job. So here's the thing. What was this a power move on his part? Or was he truly
Mm,
doing his job? Like, was he that like kind of
no,
naive? Okay. So,
no,
so
because
this was some kind of power move seeing
yes.
oh, wait a second. You know what it was? Okay, this comes out later on that she likes the high stakes of I could possibly
The
lose it
danger,
all.
the
So he was
danger.
doing that probably for her to get her excited. It's like, look, I can get to your
Ah,
family. The stakes are raised. So that's probably why he got so mad at her when she got mad at him. It's like, I'm trying to do
oh,
what
that's
you want
interesting.
me to
What you
do,
want.
but you're not
That's smart.
acknowledging it, that this is what you want.
That's
Remember, like
smart.
later on, it comes up
Yeah.
about like that was part of her kink, is knowing she could lose it all. And
You're
that,
right.
you know what I'm
You're
saying?
right.
Yeah,
In that
I
moment, I
guess.
wasn't thinking of it that way. It felt like a power move, but that's probably what he was doing.
Yeah.
That's a nice way of looking at it. Either way, I was like, dude, you can't go to her house like that.
Yeah.
Like right away, I was like, you got to cut it off, man. That's
I did wonder though if this movie was taking a turn into a like Fatal Attraction
that's
thriller.
what I thought too. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because then I was like, oh, now that's an interesting thing. If now it's like she can't get away from him and he's like terrorizing her.
That's that's the left turn. Like right here, I'm like, okay, this is where it's go. I expected the exact same
Yeah.
storyline, but it did not go that way. Like he gets out of the car, he's pissed off because she's like, I want to break it off. He's like, I'm leaving. And then at work,
Yeah.
it's different. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
I still thought it was going in that direction because he's like, I don't feel comfortable. I think I want to get transferred. And I was like, whoa, it's really going in that. I was like, what's gonna happen?
So he starts saying he wants to be transferred. She's like, no, 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 because then they're going to ask questions. So I thought
Yes.
it was interesting because I thought he was going to say, well, I'm going to tell everyone. But he's just like, well, I want to be transferred. Was that his way of threatening her? Or was it again him raising the stakes for her? It's like, well, I'm going to get transferred and then you might get in trouble. And that's going to raise the stakes for you. And you're going to be more into this game because that's your kink. Like, I don't know if every move he was making was supposed to
Uh,
be for her because he was in this Dom sub, he was committed to this Dom sub
yeah.
relationship.
I never put that together because I'm like, I didn't, that actually makes more sense because later on they obviously get back together. But like at first, I'm like, oh, he's a terrible person. But you
Yeah,
putting it that way because, as you point out, he knows what people want. Like she wants those stakes.
right.
He's really raising the stakes. That's for a fact. I did not like him in that moment. I'm like, I don't like him then. I don't like him
Yeah.
here.
I mean, it did seem like
Um,
he wasn't doing it for her. It did seem like he
yeah.
wanted to kind of end this because she
Yes.
wasn't really playing along. And he's like, I just want to be transferred. I didn't think he wanted to get her fired or in trouble. He didn't seem to want to blow up her life.
I don't feel comfortable working for you anymore. I'm going to talk to someone. Has to be transferred to a different department.
But
And he called her old. At some point in the car when she was trying to break it off, he called her old. I wrote that down. I was like, all right, he's
he,
really digging at her.
is that when
He's really digging at her.
is
Yeah.
that when he's telling her, well, I don't want a girlfriend. So it's like, I just, because
Yes.
he said, I don't want to hurt you. And
He's like, you're like my mom. He's like, I don't want to be dating. He said something like, you're like my mom. You're like something. So he aged her, right? That
yeah,
was his way of calling her old.
yeah.
And I was like, oh man, that's cool. Yeah, that was a strange moment.
I don't want a girlfriend, if that's what you're afraid of,
No.
okay? Because you look like a mother and I'm not interested in
Thank
that.
you.
Well, it's true.
Yeah.
During an intimate moment later on, he asks Nicole Kidman to hold him, and I was wondering if he had some things going on,
Oh, that's
some
interesting.
mommy issues. So when he's like, "Well, I don't want to date my mom,"
Maybe he did want to date his mom. That's interesting. Yeah, because he
yeah,
said that, and I was like, why is he aging her up? We have all this happen. He's trying to get transferred back at home. Poor Antonio, good old director Antonio, tries to have sex with his wife again, and she basically like beats him off, and then she's just like, no, I've never orgasmed with you. I've never orgasmed. She was very like, I wrote down harsh, dude.
yeah.
She was very harsh.
To be clear, when you said she beats him off, you bet she beat him up, not
Oh,
beat him
thank you.
off, because
You're
that would
correct.
have been,
Thank you for clarifying. That's a different type of thing. She specifically like just pushed him away and said, I'm not interested. She was frustrated. She's
yeah.
frustrated, basically saying she's had it so good for these past, I don't know, couple weeks, couple months of this intern. She's like, I can't go back to that. And she
Well,
said, I can't go back to like faking with you, is what she was basically saying. I
yeah.
can't do this with you.
I also took it that she was mad at him in her own way, mad at her husband, because it's like, if only I could have gotten off with you, I wouldn't be in this situation where I feel like I have to
Uh,
be with Samuel the intern. Like, I feel
that's
like
true.
she was so mad at herself and mad at him because of how she was now behaving, which I think it's weird because what did they? They said they were together 16 years or 20 years
Like
or something. It's like,
19 years. Yeah. And I was like, that's a
yeah.
long time, man. At this point, she's desperate. She goes to the intern's job. Apparently, he works as a bartender somewhere.
Yeah.
And basically, he has a coworker kick her out. Like, he's like, Get her out of this bar. She shouldn't be here."
Yeah,
Just
now that I felt like he meant, because he was like,
he
listen,
did.
she's not willing to play this game. That's fine, but like you can't be bothering me
Yeah.
anymore, you know?
Don't come to my work.
Yeah.
He's like, I can come to your house, but don't
Yeah.
don't come to my work.
Don't be coming to the bar. And then the next scene after that is then she's jonesing for him.
Yes.
She's
Yeah.
like she's gonna lose her mind. And
Yes.
she invites him to do a meeting. And she says that she does want to resume their dub sum relationship.
Yes, that is
And
correct.
he is touching her intimately and making her repeat the words, I will do whatever you tell me to do. And I thought that was a pretty hot moment.
Say it again.
I'll do whatever you tell me to do.
And then he's just like, okay, peace. And then he like walked out and
And
it's
he's
like,
like, all right, I gotta go deliver this mail. You know,
yeah,
I gotta go be an intern right now. Sorry.
I gotta go.
I'm
And
busy.
then there's a cut to her going to a hotel room all dressed up. And it looks like a
Yes.
nice hotel
Yes.
room this
She
time.
clearly paid for it this time. She paid for it. And that's when we get that fantastic father figure song by George Michael.
Yeah.
And we get them like dancing around and like, I don't know, he's kind of dressed, not dressed, drinking champagne or something.
I think he's drinking whiskey and he's like dancing for her, and then they're
Yeah.
dancing. So that's when they come up with a safe word. And she says, Jacob. And I say, who the is Jacob? I didn't even know at that point, we did not know the husband's name.
And to the screenwriter's credit, the guy said, oh, you mean your husband? I'm like, oh, that's what everyone was like, oh, your husband has a name and his name is Jacob. And that's your safe word. That's strange.
Right. It's funny because you're right. They had to write it in. Oh, your
Yeah.
husband, because nobody knew. It's like
Nobody
you
knew.
could have dropped it in earlier, but I guess there had to be a reason for holding back on names
Yeah.
as long as was done. So, and then Samuel, the intern, he
Yeah.
puts this
Yeah.
plate, this saucer of milk out on the floor, and she gets on her hands and knees and she walks over and she starts
Lapping it up. Yep.
lapping
She's
it up, and
lapping it
she
up.
gets it on her mouth, and then he's kissing her and licking it off her mouth.
It's all about that
Yeah.
calcium, guys.
It,
I
it,
don't know what's
yeah.
going on.
There was a lot of milk play
Milk. It does a body good.
in
A
this.
lot of milk play in this. Too much milk play for me.
But then like
yeah.
he's holding her a lot throughout these scenes.
Yeah,
Like
he is holding her.
and comforting her, and she's always crying. And it's like, so it's, I don't know if it's just she's crying because it's like, I finally feel complete and satisfied, or is it her guilt? But she
I
does
think it
cry
was
a lot.
embarrassment. I thought she was crying because she was kind of embarrassed and then
Oh,
she's kind of
okay.
showing it to him. That's how I took it, but she does cry a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, what's happening? That's when I was like, where is this movie gonna go now? I was like, what's because
Right.
they're back on the same page. Now what's gonna happen?
Right. At that point, I was like, it should just end happily ever after.
Yeah, they have a great relationship.
She's getting the sex she deserves.
She deserves it. It does not end there. They go to the daughter's birthday party. That's when the assistant shows up with the intern, and like Nicole is like pissed off, and she like
Mhm.
texts him a message because she sees him across the room with the bed, like, go to the kitchen. They go to the kitchen.
Yeah.
And it's pretty like kind of ridiculous that they start kind of, she on her behalf, she starts kind of yelling at him in the middle of this party saying like, what are you doing here with her? You're mine. I'm thinking, this is your house and your daughter's birthday. Keep your voice down. Like she was
Yeah.
shouting at him. I was like, shh.
And she's like pushing him aggressively, like with her forehead. It's like their
I
forehead
know.
to forehead.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it was in a very aggressive scene, more so
Yes.
than should have been taking place in her kitchen with the
Yes.
party. Yes. That's when you see she's out of control now. Like
That's when exactly I'm like, okay, so she's the crazy one.
Yeah.
But going back to the party,
Yeah.
we see them in the kitchen, this intense moment of them going head to head, her being very angry. He's just like, you have a husband, which is correct. So
Yeah.
it's like, chill out. It's like, you're married with kids. I'm just some 20-some intern. I could do whatever I want. And at that point, like the assistant walks in,
Esme, yeah.
Esme, and they break a dish and they're just like, oh, we were just, chatting or whatever it was. I was like, what? And I was like, did she see it? Did she not see it? We learned later she did see it. I was like, Nicole, get it together. I was like, get it together.
Do you know what bothered me most about that scene?
What?
Nicole Kidman at the end of that scene throws
Yeah.
out pretty much almost a whole chocolate cake. Did you notice that?
You're like, where is your milk? If you had milk, you could eat this cake.
Maybe that's why she do that. She's like, I have no
Yeah.
more to lap up from a saucer on the
That's
floor, so
true.
I'm throwing out this cake.
And birthday cakes are the best kind of cake. Like you can't just throw those
Yeah.
away. You give them away. At least
And
I
you
would have
know,
taken it.
yes, exactly.
Yes.
And you
It would
know
have been
that she,
delicious.
it would have been because she probably went to the best bakery in town.
Yes. We leave there, and basically the next day at work, she sees her assistant. She calls the assistant in, and the assistant's like, great, we can finally chat. And Nicole basically tells her, you should stop dating this intern because that might look bad for you. And like Esme is shocked, as am I. And I was like, really? Nicole kind of walks out and then she proceeds to go to a rave with the intern. He's dancing with a guy. Maybe he's making out with this guy. Maybe he's not making out with this guy. It was hard to tell.
Nicole Kidman goes looking for the intern at this like
Yes.
techno dance club, and she looks petrified the
Yeah, she
whole
does.
time.
What am I doing here? Who are these people?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was.
And then she's getting bounced around and she gets bounced towards this woman holding a water bottle and
Yes.
she pushes it in Nicole's hand and she drinks it. And
She
I'm like,
drinks it.
I was like, oh, there's probably drugs in it. And Nicole Kim's gonna go
Yes.
crazy. And then the stranger starts kissing her and Nicole's kissing her back. And then she eventually finds Samuel on the dance floor. But you're right, he's dancing intimately with this guy. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like, is he
That's
in
fine.
multiple
Yeah.
relationships? I was like, I want to know more about, his sexual life. But anyway, yeah.
Not in this movie. It was a strange moment, but I think that was to show like how far gone she'd gotten. She was
Yeah.
telling her assistant to like break up with him. Then she goes to this rave in the middle of the night. And she maybe she does drugs, maybe she doesn't. They make out. She comes home really late at night,
Mhm.
and the douchebag daughter has the audacity to say, "Mom, I'm worried about you. Are you okay? What are you doing out so late?" Like the
Yeah.
daughter was really concerned for that, which I get that was when I kind of liked the daughter. The daughter's like, Mom, is everything okay? You've been acting strange. What's going
Yeah.
on? And Nicole's like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Just go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what
Crazy.
exactly changed in their relationship. The only hint is that earlier in the movie, after Nicole's getting the good D and she's getting sexed up, she shares a cigarette with her daughter
Yes,
in
that's
the
true.
kitchen. So I guess that's supposed to mean now that they're friends because then there comes the point where the daughter starts becoming concerned for the mother.
Yeah,
She came home from the rave looking like she was,
she did on
being body
something. Yeah.
surfed around town. And then I wrote down, there's 26 minutes to go. Where is this going?
Well, it was nice because it finally took a turn. The next morning, she
Yeah.
wakes up like in this hungover, and her assistant shows up. I'm like, what's the? And I was like, okay, I think I know what's gonna happen here. And sure
Mhm.
enough, the assistant suddenly became my favorite person in the entire movie. Like I was like, give this girl a raise right away. She shows up and she basically says, like, I know what's going on with you and Samuel, the intern.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. You're never gonna see him again. Do better. She's basically just like, do better. I want to look up to you the way that I used to look up to you. Do better. Do better for women. Start acting like this powerful woman instead of what you're doing now. And she said it also like, I'm not saying this to get you to promote me, although I deserve a promotion, but I'm
Yeah.
doing this as a way to wake you up about what you're doing, to be somebody that I can look up to again. And I really liked her in that moment for being like what, like do better, just do better, Nicole. Come on.
You will never see Samuel again. You will be a good leader, and you will be a good example and role model to us all.
I thought that was a really interesting point in the film because now I was starting to see, oh, I think there's like a larger message here.
Yes. Yeah, like it's
Um,
not just about the sex
it's
or
not just about
no.
the sex. And then there's even a mention of like ambition and versus morality. Like,
Yes.
because Nicole's like, oh, I think you're confusing ambition with morality, saying that they
Yes.
should be separate. But
Yes.
Esme, as a Gen Z individual, because I believe she's like a Gen Z, it's
Yeah.
like, no, ambition and morality should go hand in hand. So I also thought that was an interesting commentary on the different
Yes.
generations.
It was actually a callback because earlier in the film, Nicole gave the speech and Esme said, I really like how you put the word emotional in there. That
Mhm.
really connected with people. And Nicole said, oh, my husband wrote that in, right? Because she didn't think about I guess, whatever the morality side of it. She just
Yes.
thought about like the goal, the bottom line for herself. And once again, Esme is saying like, no, you need to think about both because both of those things matter
Yeah.
together. She should be running the whole company. I was like, this girl is amazing. I like Esme. She is fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're supposed to see the hope of the future in Esme. That was a really powerful scene. It's just that I was like, oh no, now Nicole's
Really.
got to give up all the
The
sex.
affair is over. There's only 20 minutes left. You got to wrap it up. But you think that she gives up the sex. She finally goes, she tells her husband that, hey, I cheated on you one time. That's a lie. Fine, fine, I'll accept it. She said, I cheated on you. I'm sorry. And she finally tries to tell him, like, it's because I have this kink. She tries to explain to him why this happened. And he basically, to his credit, says, I don't care about your childhood or what
Mm,
happened to you. I want you out of the house. Like he basically said, I don't care. You're an adult. You're risking our kids over this affair. How
yeah,
ridiculous. And I really liked how he put it in the scheme of things of like, okay, this is great that you're having this moment, but what about real life?
right. And I was struck by the fact that he says, get out of the house, because I was thinking, isn't that her house? Like, I just assumed she bought that house. But I
It's
guess it
possible.
didn't matter to him. She kept saying, I just want to be normal. I just want
Mm,
to be normal. I've had these thoughts before. I really felt for her in that moment. I know that what she did was, she was essentially blowing up her relationship, but she didn't want to feel these feelings and have these
yeah.
fantasies. But whatever it is, whether it was caused by her upbringing or it was just how she was born, like I really felt her struggle in that moment. Like I thought that was really good acting.
She kept saying, like you're saying, like, I wanted to be the kind of girl that you like. I
Yeah,
wanted to be a normal girl. And she's like, she understands that she's not. And she tried really hard to fit in this box, and she can't. And
yeah,
it just kind of blew up on her.
yeah. And then the next scene, I guess she's still though at the house. He said to get out, but she must have still been at the house because
Yeah.
she's still at the house and she's awakened by someone in the swimming pool. And it's Harris Dickinson. It's Samuel the intern.
I was so furious. I'm like, what is he doing here? At first I thought to be honest, I thought it was his dream. I'm like, okay, she's imagining this, that they're
Um,
saying goodbye. And then I realized this isn't a dream. He's actually in the pool. She gets in the pool with him. They start making out. And I'm like, Nicole, did you just forget what just happened? Like, like what is going
yeah,
on in your mind? And
yeah,
like her and the guy are back in the house talking, and that's when Antonio walks in.
yeah. And they get into a fist fight
They
because
do.
she not only lied about how often this affair was occurring, she lied by saying to him, oh, it's someone you don't know. It was just this guy. And then he's
Yes.
like, no, it wasn't this guy. You lied. This is your intern. So they start having a fight, but Jacob's the one really
Yeah.
pounding on
I mean, he's a
on
20 something
Samuel.
year old
Yeah.
guy, so
But
yeah, it makes
yeah,
sense.
but Samuel seemed like he was just trying to protect himself, not aggressively
Yes.
attacking Antonio. And then eventually the fight stops and you see them, she brings each of them a bag of peas for their faces. And everything is just starting to calm down. And Antonio is basically like, what you're doing is wrong. But he seemed to be blaming her more. He said
Yeah.
he was blaming her for hurting him. And, the intern is trying to explain the whole dynamic. He's like, that's not how the BDSM thing works. That's not how dub sum works.
Yeah.
Um, and Antonio then all of a sudden looks like he's having a heart attack. He's like,
I
oh,
know.
I was like, oh my
I
God,
was
he's gonna
concerned.
die.
I know.
Um, but I guess he's having a panic attack. And Samuel calms him down like he did with the dog, and he puts his forehead to Antonio's forehead, and he's like, you're okay, you're okay. And then I thought they were gonna kiss.
That's what you hope for.
Hey, no, 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 no.
They did not
They
kiss.
did not kiss. And then eventually, Harris Dickinson just leaves.
Yeah.
I guess he just was like, okay, this is done. I'm out.
Yeah.
But you know what I thought was going to be the result of that? I thought Antonio was going to say, you know what? As long as you love me, I will allow you to continue
Wow.
with the intern for sexual satisfaction.
Jeez.
I thought he was going to make an arrangement because he loves her and wants to give her everything. And if I can't give it to you,
Yeah.
the intern give it to you.
Wow, what a great dream that would be. That's like I want to when they say like you can have your cake and eat it too. That's what that would have been. But that did not happen. Antonio was still very upset, and Nicole Kidman was still very like broken down, but she had given her assistant the raise the assistant finally deserved. And the daughter finally comes to Nicole and says, like, look, go back to dad. He misses you. He needs you. And she says, Mary forgave me. My girlfriend forgave me. Dad can forgive you. He can forgive you. And once again, I was like, this daughter has really changed my mind. I really like this daughter.
Yeah.
And basically they make up. Like Nicole and Antonio make up.
They do make up. And I should mention what I thought was odd is that when the daughter comes to Nicole Kidman's apartment, because now you could see she's living somewhere else, she also took the time to put up a Christmas tree.
She did put up a Christmas
And I
tree.
was
That is
like, with
correct.
everything going on, you put up a Christmas tree. That's another thing we should mention is that, because I did say that this was set during Christmas. Every now and again, you'll get a little bit of a Christmas carol in
Yes.
the background. You'll see,
Gifts.
you know, gifts. They took a holiday photo as a family. You see the Christmas tree up. So there's all this, like, I don't know why it was important for this to have a Christmas setting and a Christmas vibe. I don't know. What's interesting is that the last scene is Nicole Kidman's character, Romy, having sex with her husband, Jacob, Antonio Banderas. And he's pleasuring her. He covers her eyes and
Yep,
like
'cause
presses her down.
she didn't want to be seen. That's what she wanted. Yep,
Right.
exactly.
So it looks as if now he's open to this subdom relationship and doing things her way. In this scene, you're getting
Yeah,
clips
Samuel.
of Samuel where he is petting a dog.
It's the same German Shepherd from the beginning of the movie.
But how would he have that exact same dog?
He doesn't. It was symbolism. That was symbolism.
Maybe that was what she was thinking of, and that's what was getting her off while she was with her husband.
It's possible. I took it as the dog was finally tamed, was broken in a way.
Okay, so
And
you
so
think
way
that
like
was
she was finally tamed. And like she could freely release with her husband because he did what she asked, which was cover her face and pleasure her however she liked to
okay.
be pressured. And so she gave that same, you know, moany pee moan that she does when she she was with Samuel.
So in the end, her
Yes.
marriage was better for it, for having had an affair.
She had to break
Yeah.
up her marriage in order for it to be stronger. That's the lesson, actually, folks. You have to break up your marriage for it to be stronger.
Not a horrible message. Would I watch a sequel? Yes.
Depends on who's in it. Who's in it?
Well, it'd have to be Harris Dickinson.
I mean, yeah. Would he have like a new Babygirl? I don't know. I might see it again. I kind of want to see, yeah, him doing his other stuff, maybe with other people. Like, what's his actual life like? And then I kind of want to
Yeah.
see the assistant too. I really enjoyed the assistant. In the middle of the movie, you saw Nicole kind of become more like this, like whimpering little girl in a way. When some people, she was very nervous about things, and by the end, she was back to being that strong boss again.
Yeah. I don't know how representative this was, though, of a true sub-dom relationship, because having that relationship should have made her more powerful on screen. And she kept being portrayed as just becoming, like you said, like a little girl, like timid and so desperate for him. Like, that's not a true sub-dom relationship from what I have read.
Yeah.
It's not one that you're giving away so much of your power that you're becoming dependent. So I think this was creative license. I thought it was very entertaining, and I'm going to watch it every Christmas.
Perfect. Perfect. As you should, along with Die Hard. There you go. It's done.
It's the double feature, you know.
Yes.
Die Hard, Babygirl. That's going to be the
True.
marathon. And that's all we got for you. Be sure to subscribe to Reader Seeks Romance channel so that you don't miss new episodes of Romance Recap only on YouTube. Goodbye for now.